We continue with the second type of reduction. So under the heading reduction, we are having we are considering two types of reductions. And the first one was conversion, and the next one is obversion. So conversion is one type of reduction where we come to a conclusion by having the subject and predicate interchange. And what are the rules to be followed, we have seen, and then how the four kinds of propositions, how they can be converted. We have seen that one, A, E, I, O. Then now we come to obversion. This is also another type of reduction. And what is reduction? Now don't forget, what is reduction? Reduction is an immediate inference without any medium. Given a statement, a proposition, I am able to arrive at another statement or proposition without the medium of a third one. That is reduction. So conversion is one type of reduction. Obversion is yet another type. We are only considering two of the most important reductions, and that is now we are coming to the second one, obversion. It is the process of immediate inference of a proposition from another given proposition. That is the definition for reduction. What is specificity of obversion? By contradicting the predicate. What is the meaning of contradicting? Changing the quality of the predicate. Now, every subject and every predicate, they have a quality. Quality means whether they are affirmative or negative. If the predicate is affirmative, it has to be made, it has to be contradicted. And how do you contradict? By making it negative. If it is negative, you make it affirmative. So thus, by contradicting the predicate, we are able to come to a immediate inference. That is obversion. What are the rules to be followed? Subject of the obverse is same as that of the obvertent. Just as we have in the case of conversion. Conversion, we said there is a convertent, that which is to be converted, and converse. What do you have converted? The given statement is convertent, and after the conversion, it becomes converse. So also here, there is obvertent. That is the given statement to be obverted. And then after having made the obversion, then we have the obverse. This is after having tampered with the given statement. Then what we get is the obverse, and before that one, what is given is obvertent. So those terms are used here. So the first rule is the subject of the obverse is the same as that of the obvertent. That means the second statement, what you are arriving at, the subject must be same as that of the obvertent of the original statement. Second one is the predicate of the obverse is the contradictory of that of the obvertent. That is clear because that is the specificity of obversion. By contradicting the predicate, by changing the quality of the predicate, we carry out obversion. So that is repeated here. The predicate of the obverse is the contradictory of that of the obvertent. And third one is the quality of the obverse is the opposite of the obvertent. Quality of the obverse, that means the whole statement, will be the opposite of the obvertent. Of obvertent, the quality is affirmative. if it is an affirmative proposition. There's a difference between quality of the proposition and quality of the predicate. They are different. That means in the case of quality of the predicate, the predicate is affirmative or negative. The statement, so we are speaking the quality of the obverse, that means what you get as a result of obversion, is the opposite of the obvertent. So obvertent, the given statement is affirmative, then as a result of obversion, we will get the opposite of that one, it will be negative. And fourth one, the quantity of the obverse is same as that of the obvertent. Quantity, I'm not going to, I have to explain every time, but then once more, quantity refers to whether a statement is universal or particular. The quantity of the obverse is same as that of the obvertent. If the obvertent, that means the first statement that is given is universal, then the obverse also must be universal. That is what is said here. The quantity should not be changed. Quality will be the opposite, and then other things are only just an elaboration of the definition that is given for obversion. So these are this is what is meant by obversion. So we are just giving some examples. With regard to the A proposition, one example is all residents are voters. That is, we made into obversion, or obversion is carried out, and then what do you get? No residents are non-voters. All residents are voters. From that one we can conclude no residents are non-voters. So what we have done here, contradicting the predicate. What is the predicate? Voters. So voters is affirmative. That is made negative by making it non-voters. And then the rest of the statement, the proposition has to be changed accordingly. So no residents are non-voters. We can conclude that one. If all residents are voters is given to you, I can logically conclude no residents are non-voters. Second one is for the example for the E proposition, AE, universal negative. No umpires are partisans. Partisans means supporting one group or the other. No umpires are partisans. Then partisans has to be changed. That is affirmative. It has to be made negative. How to do it? All umpires are non-partisans. All umpires are non-partisans. So partisans has become non-partisans. Then accordingly we have to change the other area. You can see whether all the four rules are realized in each of the example. You can see for yourself. I don't have to explain. Now for instance, the quantity remains same. For instance, no umpires are partisans. That is universal. The obverse also is universal. All umpires are non-partisans. No umpires are partisans. There it is negative. The statement is negative, but all umpires are non-partisans. The statement is affirmative. Although there is a negation is added to the predicate, the whole statement is not negated, only predicate is negated. Therefore, the statement or the proposition is affirmative. That means the quality is different. The third example, some metals are conductors. Some metals are conductors. Then that is be changed by obversion. Some metals are not non-conductors. So we had to make an additional not. So conductors has become non-conductors, but then we had to make an additional not. So become double negative. So some metals are not non-conductors. That is we can conclude. And so here again the rules are the quantity remains the same. The quantity is both cases it is particular. The quality, one is affirmative, the first is affirmative, the second is negative. Yeah. Then some nations were not belligerent. Some nations were not belligerents. That is changed into some nations were non-belligerents. Some nations were not belligerents. Belligerents means who are easily prone to going for war, fighting. Bellum in Latin means war. Belligerent means those who are prone to going for war. Any small, without any provocation, they go for the war. So some nations are not or were not belligerents. Is a negative, particular negative, O proposition, that has become some nations were non-belligerents. The first one is negative, the second one is affirmative. The first one is particular, the second also particular. Quantity is the same, quality is different. So all the four rules that we have said above are realized in the examples. So now we put it in the form of a schema. I mean, just for sake of same thing is repeated. All yes is P, that is A proposition. And that has become E by saying no yes is non-P. That is the example. So no yes is non-P. So A becomes E in the obverse. Then no yes is P, E proposition, the given proposition. And that given proposition has become all yes is non-P. A, it is universal affirmative. But same quantity, but quality is opposite. I proposition some yes is P. That is changed into some yes is not non-P. The first one is affirmative and particular. The second one is particular and negative. Some yes is not non-P. So I become O. Then example for O, some yes is not P. That is there. So it is negative and particular, and as a result of obversion we get some yes is non-P, I. So it is particular and affirmative. So this is what takes place in obversion. So these are the two types of induction, and we are considered only these two kinds. And what is important to know is what is reduction? Immediate inference. From a given statement, I am able to arrive at another statement or proposition without any medium. All men are mortal. Immediately I can conclude some men are mortal. So like that is not only for the universal affirmative, for all the four kinds of statements we can change by way of conversion or by way of obversion. So that is the last point in this particular unit. That is the third unit that we have completed. Now before going to the fourth unit, I would like to make one or two announcements for those of you who are attending these classes. Logic is not that easy, and year by year it is found to be more difficult. Not that logic is changed. The same logic which was more than 2000 years ago, the same thing is communicated, taught, but then from my experience I find it is found to be more difficult. That is a general phenomenon. Therefore, the implicit request that I want to make is, don't think that you are going to get it just before examination. And even when we had the classes where students are physically present, possibility of interaction was there, clarification was there, clarification from my part as well as on the part of the students. Still, it was difficult. Now, there is no physical presence. There is only I have prepared the notes and given, and also I am explaining through this class. But then I am sure many have got many doubts. For some, everything is a doubt. Everything is doubt because nothing is understood. Therefore, if I ask you for the clarification of doubts, you will ask everything. So I don't want that kind of a clarification. So what I am requesting you is that, first of all, you have to go through every unit by unit. Start with the first unit. First unit, to go through one. First you study by yourself, then go through once more together in your respective houses. And then you have discussion among yourself on that one. Whatever can be clarified with the help of the other, do it. And then still something remains unclear. One of you should, from each house, should take note and bring that one to my notice, to me. Send by email or by WhatsApp. By email, you can send it to me, every house. Then I will coordinate. Some of the questions will be the same. So don't simply just asking for the questions. If we have not made a second attempt, at the third attempt and a discussion, only afterwards you bring to my notice. Then I will announce one class will be given only for clarification. After I will coordinate, I will get all the points that are to be clarified from first unit. You need not wait for this thing, each one separately. First unit you take it up, and then second unit. So unit by unit you can, I will also give the clarification unit by unit. By announce it beforehand which day, which class will be the clarification of this particular questions from the first unit. So please take note of this one. Don't, which I have already told at the beginning of the logic class, it is not like a study of history. It is comprehension. You have to get it. It's not studying by heart. You have to understand it. Each one has to understand. Therefore, there is so it was easier some years back. Now it is becoming more difficult due to whatever be the reason. This is the situation. This is the fact. I am realizing that one, but I cannot dilute logic. I can only reduce some of the. So now you cannot know what is taught in the second and third unit unless we know enough on the first and second unit. So because logic is gradually built on step by step we proceed. If the first step is not solid enough, we cannot go to the second step. Therefore, make sure that you understand, and if there's something to be clarified, after having discussed, and then only bring to my notice. Don't make me take the class again. It will not make you understand, because unless your work is done, only you bring to my notice. So at the earliest, so I must give some date, maybe by 8th of October, the first unit questions are to come to me. By 8th of October. Before that one, make sure that first unit is clarified among yourself, discuss by yourself, study, and then go through the video once more, and then you have a discussion, and then if there are still some problem, you decide someone who will coordinate, note them down, and then send to my email. Okay. With this one, we go to the next unit. the fourth unit, that is inference. All that we have been clarifying, all that we have been taking in the previous classes and previous units, they are in preparation for the inference. Inference or argument, that is the core of logic, the kernel. So we have come to the very core or kernel of logic, that is inference, the very heart of logic. So as what I already told is given also in the note, all that we have been explaining so far has been in preparation for understanding what is the meaning of inferring or arguing. How can we do it logically? That is the point we are coming to. But we cannot jump into that one without if we have not come step by step to this level. First, before we go to the various, the rules of syllogism, we are coming to the various kinds of inference, different kinds of inference, which we may have already touched upon in the first introductory section. We have already touched upon, but then once again we are giving it. First one is we can divide inference into two kinds, immediate and mediate. Immediate and mediate. So, immediate, as the very term means, without a medium. Without the help of a medium, we are able to arrive at a conclusion directly. Now, as we have just finished induction, all the examples that are given under induction, that is the example for immediate inference. Because induction is, we are able to infer a proposition from another proposition without the medium of a third one, that is induction. So all the examples that are given under the heading induction, they are all examples for immediate inference. So I don't want to repeat. So it is without a medium from one proposition, I am able to arrive at another proposition as the conclusion. All politicians are corrupt. All politicians are corrupt, then I can conclude some politicians are corrupt. And then we have seen the various kinds. So that is all that we are putting under immediate inference. The second one is mediate inference. Through the help of a medium, through the help of another statement, another proposition, I am arriving at a conclusion. That is a mediate inference. So, mediate inference is that reasoning process wherein the conclusion is arrived at from a previously known truth through a medium, another known truth. So we have for example, take the classical example, all men are mortal. From that one, I want to conclude Peter is mortal. But then I cannot jump into this conclusion without the help of another proposition, another known truth. And therefore, we need a medium. A medium to come from here to this one, I need a medium. And what is that medium? Peter is a man. So with the help of this medium, I conclude from this conclusion. That is called mediate inference, with the help of a medium. Now, mediate inference can be either induction or deduction. induction or deduction. That also we have clarified, but again we are clarifying not because the first clarification was wrong, but because the first clarification may have been forgotten. So what is induction? Induction is inferring a truth, a particular truth from a general truth. From a universal truth, I arrive at a particular truth. All men are mortal. Sorry, I put the wrong. Yeah, I put the wrong way. Induction is from the particular to the universal. What I said is true. From the particular, water gets boiled at 100 degrees centigrade here. From that one, how do you conclude simply water everywhere, every time gets boiled at 100 degrees centigrade? But that is also possible. But then that is mostly used in science, and there we do not have, we will be spending some time on induction, but more important section of logic is deduction. That is proving a particular conclusion, a particular statement from a universal. So arguing from the universal to the particular, that is deduction. From the particular to the universal is induction. From particular to the universal is induction. From universal to particular is deduction. And logic is mostly concerned with the deduction. And there we have absolute certainty. In the case of deduction, there is no doubt. If all men are mortal and Peter is man, then we can conclude 100% truth that Peter is mortal. The other one, in the case of induction, what is employed in science and empirical sciences, in sociology, there we are taking the sample from here and there. We see who will be coming for the next election, who will be voted in. So they ask some people here, some people there, and in different places, and then they make a conclusion. The trend seems to be in favor of this party or that party. What is the basis? Only a few sample instances. So in the case of induction, there is no absolute certainty. There is only a probability. So in the induction, we can get only probability. It's probable. And of course, we'll study more about that one. The probability, or there can be less probable and more probable. There's a degree of probability. But in deduction, we can get the certainty. So that is the first type of the clarification as far as the different kinds of inference. Now with this, we are of course, we are with the deductive inference, mediate and deductive inference. So now we are taking step by step how to proceed. So the first one is the meaning of syllogism and the rules. So what is syllogism? The term may not have been used so far, but then the meaning may be clear to us from the context. In a broad sense, syllogism stands for the verbal expression of deductive inference. In a narrower sense, it is taken to mean that logical form to which every deductive reasoning can be reduced. I think I have very clearly expressed. Nothing more clarity cannot be given by me again. We can only give little more bit more clarification, that is all. But the clarity remains in what is said there. So in the broad sense, that means in a wider sense, Syllogism stands for the verbal expression of deductive. For example, this one. This is the syllogism. The verbal expression of the argument, deductive argument. That is syllogism. But then, to be more precise, what is said is true. What is said in the broad sense is true. But we are making it more clear in the narrower sense or more precise meaning. What is syllogism? It is the logical form to which every deductive reasoning can be reduced. The skeleton, the structure, there is a way of arguing. That skeleton or the structure of deductive reasoning is called syllogism. There is a structure. Now, when you say the verbal expression, we may immediately jump to these statements. It is not those statements, this or that statement. What is there is a style, there's a structure is there which we are going to see. The basic framework on which the argument functions, or how we are able to arrive at a conclusion from the other two statements, how it is. That is called the syllogism. Of course, which we cannot immediately get it. As you go further, you will get it clarified. But before going into the various rules of categorical syllogism, we are just giving that we are using arguments everywhere. But then it may not be following the strict syllogistic style as we hear. Here it is very clear. All men are mortal. Peter is man. Peter is mortal. It is very strictly syllogistic style. But then I given an example here. Example that reasoning that we carry out in our ordinary conversation. Do you think that God exists? Of course, it is impossible that He exists. No one has ever seen Him or heard Him or talked to Him. Has anyone? This is a kind of ordinary conversation, but in that conversation there is a logic. There is an argument is there. What is he trying to prove? He is trying to logically conclude, whether the conclusion is, logically conclude a conclusion, namely, there is no God. But he doesn't put it as the first statement, the first proposition, second one, and the conclusion. That is the logical style. But in the implicitly, the structure, the syllogistic structure is contained. What is that one? The syllogistic structure? A person is said to exist only insofar as he is seen, heard, or spoken to by someone. That is the first statement. A person is said to exist. A person is existing. We can say someone exists only insofar as someone has seen him or heard him or spoken to him. That is, that statement is supposed to be on which we stand. Because the conclusion is we are arriving at standing on the two steps, we are going to a third step. So the first one is taken for granted. Then we can question whether it is true or not. We are not concerned about the truth, but whether it is logically. We have made the distinction between true argument, good argument, and sound argument. I do not repeat again. So here it comes. So whether it is true, that is a different question. But provided a person is said to exist insofar as he or she is seen, heard, or spoken to, then God, the second statement is, God is not seen, heard, or spoken to by anyone. Therefore, naturally, God does not exist. The conclusion is logically correct. Because if the other two are solid enough, if the other two are true, then the conclusion also will be true. But if we are in case the other two are true, then the conclusion will be also true. So this is the only to show that we are using arguments in our conversation, but always we may not be making use of the strict syllogistic structure. In the example here, the classical example, there it is according to the syllogistic structure in the strict sense of the term. But then in our conversation when we use, although it is not explicitly mentioned, there is a hidden structure is there, and that is what we are referring to. This syllogistic structure contains the three propositions, of which two are premises and one is conclusion. Again, these are clarified. Two are premises and one is conclusion. Yeah, this what the syllogistic structure that we have made. A person is said to exist only insofar as he is seen, heard, or spoken to by someone. That is one premise. It is taken for granted. The second premise is God is not seen, heard, or spoken to by anyone. The second premise. From these two premises, we are concluding God does not exist. Therefore, God does not exist. Here also, the two premises, all men are mortal. Peter is man. We are presuming. If that is so, then we can conclude that Peter is mortal. So in the syllogistic structure, there are premises from which or through which we are arriving at a conclusion. So one statement or proposition is the conclusion. The other two are premises. Other two are premises. Although there are three types of syllogisms, categorical syllogism, that is, its three propositions are categorical. That means, for example, this one, all men are mortal. Again, what is categorical? Go back into the previous sections. What is categorical proposition? It is not my mistake if you do not know. That is what I told. You must know, unless otherwise you will not be able to get head or tail of what I am speaking now. What is categorical? So a syllogism that consists of the three propositions which are categorical, then it is a categorical syllogism. The second one is hypothetical syllogism. Its three propositions are conditional or hypothetical. Are conditional or hypothetical. That means the three propositions that are given, conditional statements. If it rains, I will take umbrella. If I take the umbrella, I will take somebody along with me. Therefore, if it rains, I will take somebody along with me. So just one example. We will study more of all these things in symbolic logic. And the third one is disjunctive syllogism. Disjunctive. Its major premise is disjunctive proposition and the other two are categorical. Disjunctive. And what is disjunctive? Again, or. Either I take coffee or tea in the morning. First statement, I take coffee in the morning. Therefore, I do not take coffee in the morning. Therefore, I take tea in the morning. So that is the conclusion. So the major premise, one premise will be major and minor we are not studied. We are going to study immediately. And so the major premise, the first premise will be disjunctive proposition. The other two will be categorical. Now, among these three types of syllogism, we are focusing our attention only on the categorical syllogism, of which the three propositions are categorical. So we are focusing our attention on that one for the time being. And so then we'll study the various rules that are of the categorical syllogism. So with this one we conclude today's class.